Now, as far as fish growth is concerned, quality of food, amount of food is absolutely a factor. And the next major factor is how often you're doing water changes. Larger amounts of water changes are going to diffuse phenols and various hormones that might build up in the water and then stunt the fish's growth. And there are various products like polyfilter, and that will adsorb and absorb a lot of these sorts of chemicals out of the water that are potentially going to stunt the fish's growth. So in general, the bigger and better your filter, and the better your filter media, and the more often you're doing water changes, and generally the overall volume, the bigger your tank, the faster your fish grow. But the aim of most people is not to grow the fish as fast as possible. If you're a breeder or got some commercial interest in the fish, then you might have a vested interest in growing the fish as fast as possible. So therefore, really regular water changes or the use of products like polyfilter might be something you can justify. But for most people, the fact that the fish are not growing at full pelt is not a big drama, because most fish, people don't want them growing out of their tanks anyway. And the other thing is that in a appropriately sized or generously sized aquarium, many aquarium fish will actually grow much bigger in the aquarium than they do in the wild. Because in the wild, they're very limited with their capacity to obtain nutrients or territory, but in an aquarium, life really is on a silver platter, and the quantity and quality of the food they're offered often allows them to get actually bigger and actually, I don't know about grow faster, but definitely grow bigger than they do in the wild. So now I'm filling this aquarium up, and what I'm going to do is fill up 5 centimeters. Then I'm going to add a dose of water ager for the volume of the aquarium. Then I'm going to fill up another 5 centimeters, then add another dose of the volume of the aquarium. And you have to add the water ager after you add the water, because the water ager will stabilize straight away. And you really can't add the water ager, then add the water. Well, that doesn't actually work. The water ager can only stabilize chlorine and chloramone that's actually present within about 3 seconds, because it will stabilize very quickly and then it won't work. And if there's no chlorine or chloramone, it'll just bond to something else. Ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, etc. The fish love the strong water flow, and it's really good for flushing the reef as well. Now, something that you want to be very aware of is that the more fish you put in your tank and the bigger your fish get, the more waste they produce, and therefore the more water changes that you need to be doing. It is quite surprising how much cleaner smaller fish are, because bigger fish are disproportionately less economical with their nutrients. And as far as number of fish is concerned, lots of big fish require lots of big water changes. Lots of little fish, it's amazing how long you can go without requiring a water change. The other thing to be aware of is that fish don't live forever. So see this fella here? That's a very old Mangano or Cyanohabdus. These fish sort of live about 4 to 7 years. You certainly hear stories of them living longer, but this guy's looking very bloated and looking sort of towards the end of its time. So all good things come to an end. Unfortunately, same as fish, they don't live forever. So if you get a good sort of 7 years out of them, you're doing pretty good. and they do not live forever. And this guy, I think it's had a pretty good run. It's a huge fish for its species. What a cool tank. The other thing to be aware of too is if you do have a lot of fish, things like spring cleans need to be done more regularly. Now, I've just done a gravel clean on this tank and I was surprised how clean it is. And I do want to feed them a little bit more because I think they were actually a bit too clean. And there are various fish like this gibby sap that'll help keep the tank clean. What a beautiful little fish. But if you have a lot of big-bodied fish, you'll find that under the reef gets very dirty. So therefore you do want to do a spring clean every now and then, which is just pull it all out, clean all underneath it, put it all back in again. And it's a wonderful opportunity to give it a completely different look, which will definitely make life more entertaining for the fish, give them a whole new world to explore, and it will definitely be a lot more interesting for you. It also gives you an opportunity to pull any fish out that maybe you're not as fond of, because change is king. Now, these bulk fish foods are great, but it's really important that they stay zip-locked, because you don't want bulk fish food going stale. It's got to stay fresh. Oxygen is your enemy. Now, I really hate products that are app only. At least with these max spec razors, they're an older one, there's a button on the top and you can hold that down to override the setting to turn it on, and then you can hold that down to override the setting to turn it off. And I'm old school. I like where you just turn something on and turn something off. You don't have to worry about connecting to your bloody Wi-Fi just to do anything.